There's a specific kind of pressure that quietly destroys good trading. It's not fear, it's not greed, and it's not impatience. It's the pressure to prove yourself. The pressure to show to yourself or to the market that you know what you're doing, that you belong here, that you're not wasting your time, and that you're not falling behind. This pressure doesn't always feel loud or obvious. Sometimes it shows up as a sense of urgency. Sometimes it looks like overtrading. Sometimes it's forcing a setup that isn't really there. And sometimes it's just needing a win to feel okay again. The most dangerous part is that most traders don't even recognize it as the pressure to prove anything. They just think they're trying harder. But they're not trading to execute well anymore. They're trading to validate themselves. And that shift is subtle, but it's devastating. Let's talk about where this pressure actually comes from. Trading is unique because it offers almost no external validation. There's no boss patting you on the back, telling you you did a good job. There are no clear milestones like a promotion. There's no guaranteed progression up a corporate ladder. Your results are the only visible feedback you get. So, over time, your results quietly take on a much bigger meaning. A win doesn't just mean you made money. It starts to mean competence. It means progress. It means you belong here. And a loss doesn't just mean risk realized. It means doubt. It means embarrassment. It means you're falling behind everyone else. Once that happens, every single trade starts to carry heavy emotional weight. You're no longer just making a simple trading decision. You're making a statement. A statement that says, I know what I'm doing. Or worse, a statement that screams, I need to show everyone that I know what I'm doing. That's where the pressure begins. The pressure doesn't come from the market. It comes from the story you attach to your outcomes. Let's look at how this plays out in real trading situations. Imagine you have a losing day. It's not catastrophic, just a regular red day. But instead of just accepting it as part of the business, something inside you shifts. You feel a powerful urge to get it all back. Not for the money, but for the relief. You just want the day to end differently. You want to prove that the loss didn't mean anything bad about you or your skills. So you stay at your desk longer. You lower your standards just a little. You start taking trades you know you wouldn't normally take. Not because the setup is good, but because you can't stand the thought of ending the day with that feeling of doubt. That's proving behavior in action. Here's another example. You see other traders online posting their big wins. Screenshots of profitable brokerage statements, all full of confidence. Even if you logically know it's just noise and doesn't represent the full picture, something in you tightens. You start to feel behind. You feel an intense pressure to catch up. So what happens? You start trading more aggressively. You size up too soon. You force trades in less than ideal market conditions. Not because it's a logical move, but because being patient feels like you're just falling further and further behind. That is also proving behavior. Let's look at one more. You have a strong winning day. Everything just flows perfectly. And instead of feeling settled and content, you feel a new kind of pressure, the pressure to repeat it. You have to confirm that it wasn't just luck. You have to prove it wasn't a one-time fluke. So the next day, you push too hard. You expect the same level of performance from yourself and the market. And when the market inevitably doesn't cooperate, your frustration spikes. That pressure didn't come from a loss. It came from your own expectation, the need to prove your consistency. Now, here's the uncomfortable truth. The pressure to prove yourself has absolutely nothing to do with your trading skill. It's an identity issue. It comes from tying your self-worth directly to your trading outcomes. When your results equal your value as a person, every trade becomes an emotional roller coaster. A win lifts you up to the sky. A loss crushes you and fills you with doubt. Your emotional stability just disappears. This is why traders who feel this pressure to prove themselves often swing between extremes. They have soaring confidence after a few wins, followed by soul-crushing doubt after a few losses. They're not grounded in their process. They're completely reactive. Their entire sense of self is moving up and down with their profits and losses. Let's slow this down for a second. Why does being right feel so important in the first place? It's because being right feels like safety. It feels like progress. It feels like validation. It feels like certainty. And the human brain is wired to crave certainty. But trading is a probabilistic environment. There is no certainty. So when you seek certainty through your outcomes, you are putting yourself in direct conflict with the reality of the market. That conflict shows up as pressure. Pressure to win. Pressure to recover. Pressure to perform. And under that kind of pressure, the quality of your decisions will always drop. Not because you don't know what to do, but because urgency replaces patience. Here's a key insight that most traders miss. The market does not reward proving behavior. It punishes it. Every single time you trade to prove something, you are trading for emotional relief, not for a statistical edge. You are no longer aligned with probability. You are aligned with a narrative in your head. And narratives do not survive the randomness of the market. Let's talk about what proving behavior actually looks like on the chart. It looks like entering a trade earlier than you planned. It looks like taking marginal, low-quality setups. It looks like sizing up just to feel more confident. It looks like holding on to losers way too long just to avoid being wrong. It looks like overmanaging your winners to lock it in too early. It looks like trading past your stop time or ignoring your own fatigue. All of these behaviors have one thing in common. They are attempts to control a perception, your own perception of yourself, how you feel about yourself at that moment. But control is an illusion in trading. The more you try to control your outcomes, the less control you will have over your own behavior. So how do you release this pressure to prove yourself? It's not by caring less. It's by changing what you are trying to prove. Right now, many traders are desperately trying to prove things like, I can win. I'm good enough. I belong here. But those are impossible to prove consistently in a probabilistic environment. Instead, professionals prove something else entirely. They prove their reliability. They prove their discipline. They prove that they will execute their plan the exact same way, regardless of the outcome of any single trade. That is what creates true stability. You don't need to prove you're right. You need to prove you're consistent. And I'll be honest, consistency is boring. It doesn't feel impressive. It doesn't give you those big dopamine spikes. And it certainly doesn't post well on social media. But it's the one thing that compounds over time. Let's reframe this. Let's turn proving behavior into professional behavior. Instead of asking yourself, how do I make this day green? Ask, how do I follow my process cleanly today? Instead of asking, how do I show that I'm improving? Ask, how do I behave the same way across all market conditions? And instead of asking, how do I recover this loss? Ask, how do I prevent this loss from affecting my next decision? These questions completely remove the urgency. They move you out of your ego and into your structure. Here's something important to understand. When you stop trying to prove yourself, your performance improves. Not immediately, but sustainably. Because you're no longer fighting randomness. You're working with it. You accept that some days won't validate you. You accept that some weeks will feel slow. You accept that progress doesn't announce itself loudly with a trumpet. And because you're no longer demanding an emotional payoff from every trade, your nervous system finally settles down. Your decision-making improves. Your patience increases. Your execution stabilizes. This is why the calmest traders often look the most boring. They're not trying to prove anything. They already trust their process. And that trust is what removes the pressure. So here's a simple practice you can use immediately. Before each trading session, write this sentence down. My job today is not to prove anything. My job is to execute my rules. And after the session, evaluate yourself on only one thing. Did I follow my process? If the answer is yes, then the day was a success regardless of your profits and losses. If the answer is no, then that's where the real work is. Not in your results, but in your behavior. This simple exercise slowly retrains your brain. It teaches it that your value comes from consistency, not from external validation. And over time, the pressure begins to fade. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped tying your self-worth to outcomes that you ultimately do not control. And that's the trader's hidden edge. If this episode resonated with you, hit the like button, subscribe for more trading psychology, and leave a comment below. When do you feel the strongest pressure to prove yourself in your trading? Is it after losses? After big wins? Or when you're comparing yourself to others? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.